Okay.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. The reason we're here is to take a few minutes to ask Mara a few questions. She knows it's being videotaped, and we're in live conference here. You can see her clearly on the video screen, and it's both you and me and Ma. And we're just going to record this video for posterity. I'll let Jim have the first few words and first question. Go ahead.
Ma,
Yes?
when you worked at Ted Tavera's store, you worked for some lady named, or Sam Hill?
No, Mrs. Levitt.
Mrs. Levitt, that's what it was, Mrs. Levitt.
The name was...
She owned that store before
No.
Ted Tavera. Was there somebody between Mrs.
No,
Levitt
the
and
Perot.
Ted Tavera?
The Peralts owned it.
Who?
The Peralts. They lived in that house right next to the church. On the
Okay.
same side.
They owned it after Mrs. Levitt?
Mrs. Levitt never owned it.
Okay, but you worked for her there.
Yes, I did. I was
Okay.
14 years
And she
old.
worked for, what were their names?
She worked for herself.
Well, I thought you said Pirelli owned it.
Perot owned the store.
Okay.
Mrs.
Owned
Levitt,
the building.
the building.
And
Mrs.
Mrs. Levitt owned the business in the building.
Say that again?
And Mrs. Levitt owned the business inside the building.
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do for Mrs. Levitt, and when did you work there?
I was 14 years old. I worked for her for about 3 years. I helped clean, I helped wait on, and stack the shelves.
And what kind of a business was that?
Grocery?
Groceries. Okay.
Grocery and tobacco. Grocery sold a lot of tobacco.
Okay. And before Mrs. Levitt, who owned that business? Who was in that building?
Pearl's son.
Who?
Pearl's son, I don't know what his...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So as far as you can remember...
Oh, wait a minute, it was a tea room.
Back to Mrs. Levitt, that's always been a grocery store there before the cozy kitchen.
No, it was
No?
a tea room. That's what it used to be called, the tea room. Used to sell...
Oh, okay, before Mrs. Levitt.
Yeah, way before her.
Way before. There was a tea room.
A tea room, and that's where a lot of people used to go to eat. The eating place.
Okay, so it was an eating place way back, and now it's an eating place again.
Right,
Isn't that something?
it sure is.
Yeah. Now, was that building always there, or was it built while you was a kid?
No, it was always there as far as I know. I don't remember
Okay.
when it was built.
Did you get that poker out of your nose that you were just going for?
No, it was itching.
Okay. All right, so it was a tea room before then, and that building was always there. Now, at the same time you was with Miss Levitt, that place where Allie Evans was that already a store? What was there on that corner?
That was Sam Hill's store, and then he
That's
had...
where Sam Hill comes in. Was that a grocery store, too?
It was a grocery store, and then he had a dry goods store on the side of it, in the same
Okay.
building.
And that was always there during your childhood?
Oh, I can always remember, yeah.
And always remember. So those were the two stores that when you wanted to go to the store and you wanted to be close by, you would walk up there to those stores.
Right.
Yeah? Well, how did you get money to go in those stores? Because you were broke, weren't you?
I always had money. I always did little jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And during this time, your grandfather, was working for the John T. Goggenberry farm.
Yes.
How did he get to work?
If he didn't walk, he took a horse and carriage. But no, that was only, he always walked to work. Coming
He
home
always
for lunch.
walked, and in the early days, I remember seeing him in a picture with a carriage. Did he ever bring that carriage home?
Yes, he used to come home with it for lunch and then take it back and walk back home. Yeah,
Okay, so to get home quicker at lunchtime, he'd just take the buggy home.
yeah.
I'll be in that something.
I was scared to death of that horse.
Why?
He's bigger than me.
See? Huh. What is your earliest memory of childhood? The earliest pleasant memory that you can think of? One that's always come back to you through your life, that when you was a kid, you could remember this very happy event that happened? And I'm talking about as far back as you can remember, the happiest event you had as a child when you were real young.
The happiest event that I had is to know that my father was my father. He was the nicest man, nicest person that ever lived. He and I got along fine.
As far back as you can remember, that he was always very kind to you.
Always very kind. He used to call me little girl.
Little girl.
Yeah.
There was something else he used to call you as well, way back then. You used to run out and meet him when he'd come home for lunch in the carriage, didn't you?
Oh yes, used to run out and meet him all the time.
Yeah.
He was my favorite person.
When you got old enough to go to school, what school did you actually go to first?
Pleasant Street had 4 grades in it. One to the 4th grade, and then I went to Monroe's Corner School. And then
Now where is Monroe? I know what Pleasant Street is. You used to walk there, right?
yeah, he used to
Where
get.
was Monroe Corners?
It was down in South Seekonk.
South Seekonk. How did you get there?
Monroe's Corner is the corner of Anthony Street and Route 6.
The bus.
Well, you had a bus then.
Bus used to pick us up at Pleasant Street School.
And this was in the 30s?
In the 30s, I was only 6 years old. I didn't go to school yet. Wait a
Hold on
minute.
a second. Hello?
Yep.
Yes. Yes, I do. I have an appointment with him on the 21st, and I'm out of town that week. I can come in any day the week before or any day the week after, but it has to be his first appointment in the morning, because I have appointments after that. Okay. April the 17th at 8:45. Let me check my schedule real quick. Okay, let's see. It sounds like that would be good, but let me check to be sure. April the 17th. That's a Thursday, right? Yeah, at what time? That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. I'm sorry, Ma. I had to make that appointment with my doctor.
Okay.
Okay, and you used to go out and meet him when he came home at lunch in the carriage. Did he ever bring you anything?
No.
Never did. Didn't have any money.
No.
When you were real poor, and I know when I grew up in the 50s, when you used to take me to Granny's in the morning before you went to work, it was always very poor. How did you get meat and stuff like that?
We bought it off. She bought a pound of meat and stretched it.
Yeah,
See-
because and didn't John T. Goggin sometimes kill an animal?
Oh yeah, he
His
killed
grandfather?
a cow or a pig. Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow I remember that when he wanted to keep it, sometimes they dig a hole in the ground and salt the meat and put it down in the ground.
I don't remember that. You probably would remember because you were outside with him.
Yeah, I was outside with him. I remember where he used to sharpen his knives by that sharpening stone by the outhouse.
Yeah.
And I remember the grapevine and the pickle barrel at the end of the grapevine.
Yeah.
And I think it was he or Jimmy Peck that told me when they used to get more meat than they could use in a short period of time, they used to preserve it some way. And I can't remember. I think he talked about salting it and putting it down in a cool place. Maybe it was down in the basement in the ground or something under
It
the
could
house.
be. It could be on Chester Street. We had a basement that had a dirt floor, and it was cool.
I remember that because when we used to go picking the raspberries, the blueberries, or whatever, she would sometimes can some things.
Yeah.
And sometimes she'd let me go down in that hole, and I remember it was always cool. And on those shelves were things that were put up in jars, in the mason jars
Yeah.
and things. You remember that?
Yeah.